Hello, everyone. I'm Kensho.
And hi everyone, I'm Lina, and we are the co-founders of the Conductors Collective.
Welcome to our very first episode of Conductors Collective on the TDO network. We're really excited to be talking a little bit about our roots today so that you can all get to know us a little bit better and talk a little bit about what we have been doing with Conductors Collective in the last few weeks.
Yes, well, this is a great opportunity not only for everybody to get to know us a little bit, but also for me to get to know you, Kensho. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how did you arrive to conducting?
Yeah, so I had a very interesting path to conducting in that while I had been playing violin for most of my life, I was actually planning on going into medicine. So I was a biology major in college, and I even went as far as to take the MCATs and actually start the first part of my application to medical school before really realizing that conducting was for me. But my first entry point into conducting was in college, actually. As a freshman, I was auditioning for some student ensembles. And I was kind of almost like forced into the conducting part of it. I had mentioned in one of these auditions for these groups that I was taking some score study classes in high school. And once hearing that, the seniors that were running the ensemble said, "Oh yeah, for sure. You'll be able to conduct, no problem." So I had to kind of jump in and just start learning on the fly how to conduct a string ensemble at that time. And the more I conducted, the more interested I became, and this kind of passion um, came out that I couldn't really restrain anymore. But it really took me from there to going to Curtis for conducting in Philadelphia, which is where I live now. And basically, I didn't leave town because then after that, I, of course, just finished up my tenure as the assistant conductor of the Philadelphia Orchestra last fall.
That's so cool. What was the first piece that you conducted with that string ensemble at Yale?
I think it was a Mendelssohn String Symphony. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say number 8, but it's been a long, long time ago. That was 2005 or 6, so it's been a while. But yeah.
I remember the first piece that I've ever conducted with people, like with strings, like more than two pianos, was Holberg Suite.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Yes, not terribly difficult, right? But
Hey, but
it was
when you're starting, that can be pretty
Holy
overwhelming.
Mother's that viola at the beginning, and we were all starting. So that's
Yeah.
so awesome. It's really, really happy that you said that you wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to be a doctor as well, but that didn't last
Huh.
too much for me.
And wait, your father is actually a doctor, right? So you had
Yes,
something in your family?
actually
Yeah.
both my mom
Both of
and my
them.
dad. Yeah, I mean, they met in college, like medical school, but my mom didn't finish. But my grandparents were doctors, and all my cousins are doctors, all of them, cardiologists and
Wow.
everything.
Okay.
I'm the only one. I'm the black sheep. And after me, everybody like started going into music and different careers. Yes.
Oh, interesting. So you're like the trailblazer for your family.
Yeah, more or less, yes. Then a couple, yes, and actually, I was the like my family. Almost everybody has left the country, so all
Hmm.
of my cousins are in different countries in the world, which I think it's really awesome.
Hey, it's a great reason to visit them and travel a little bit too. Hopefully, we can do
Yeah,
that soon.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's crazy.
So tell me more a little bit about like how you got into conducting and now where you are now in your career.
Yeah, well, I started as a pianist. That's how I was introduced into music. And when I was a little girl, I used to sing in these Spanish groups called tunas, which is like a serenade kind of thing. And that's what I get introduced into singing. But mainly, I started as a pianist, and there was a moment in my life that I said, I cannot spend that much time studying piano because I am very social. Not that I'm extroverted, but I really like to be around people. So that's how I started like going into choirs, and then I remember singing one time Carmina Burana. That was my first big piece, singing into school first semester, and I said, you know what? I need to be on the podium. This is what I need to be doing because then I can talk to everyone. So that's how I actually decided that I should pursue conducting. But and I studied, graduated from conducting in Colombia, but then like I want to say that in 2010 is when like my journey completely started, because I left Colombia in pursuit of different, or actually in pursuit of opportunities, because at that time there were no opportunities for women there, much less Colombian. So in that sense, I came to the States and started studying, went to New York, worked with a couple of ensembles, met a lot of people, and then moved to Boston to pursue my conducting degrees. And then after that, it's just been working here and there. I work with Philadelphia and with Seattle and Chicago. Those are my three main gigs
Hey,
as conducting
you're
fellow.
pretty busy, or you were pretty
Yes,
busy.
well, I was pretty busy bouncing from one part of another, but hey, it's an opportunity to meet even more people, right?
Exactly. And I love this talk about, what you just said about your journey in conducting just started when you left your home. And I think there's something that actually I'm just realizing now that we have something in common too, that we both left our homes. I was born in Japan. I moved much earlier when I was 5 to the States. But I also think back on if I hadn't left Japan, I don't think I would have had the similar life that I had of pursuing both science and music and being able to kind of have both feet in these two camps, and then getting to decide a little bit later in my life what my purpose was. So I think it's cool that that kind of pointed us in the direction of being young conductors now in this field.
Yeah. And I don't know about this from your perspective, but I always think that the best conducting that experience that I ever have is when I have to be absolutely outside my comfort zones. So living home, learning a new language, then leaving my home and living like the comfortability of living in Colombia to live in like a studio that only had like a futon, was definitely part of the journey that I wouldn't change for anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yes.
one of those things that you look back on now with a lot of fondness. The struggle, I think is what makes us
The
resilient.
hassle, so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
much hassling, and now it's the hassle has shifted, especially because now we are home and we're stationed like in our houses that we get to know really closely now. Like I know that background, you know this background of my house.
yeah,
But
you see it
yes,
quite often these days.
yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about, because it's the funny thing is that we've done so much, kind of over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, and we also met a few times this year. So we actually just first met in September last year, so 2019 September, and
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about that, because that's actually really great too. How I think those first interactions kind of started for us what we have now in terms of our relationship, working together on Conductors Collective.
Yeah, well, I hate to correct you, but I think we met via Instagram in March, because I actually
Oh,
contacted
right.
you. Yeah. So and now it's a metaphor of our lives, because now we are
That's true.
ultra connected, but we don't see each other. So when I got news that I was appointed as conducting fellow, and like we were going to join the staff with my other colleague, they invited me to cover one concert that you couldn't do, which was Hannibal Locumbe and Yannick and Sibelius II, which was one hell of a concert. And then we talk. This was the start of our connection, because I ask you if you can give me the pointers of how to assist this organization, because every organization is a little monster in itself. Organization wise, administration, everybody else is so different, so you cannot come with a preset way of doing things, but reading the situation, which is something that we talk a lot in our webinars. So we started talking about it, and you were so open with me, trying to um, letting me know what was the best way to make myself give a great impression artistically, not personally but artistically. And from then on, we started like contacting each other and just talking. We met in September, and it was a really a special, heartwarming uh, relationship because we were so open about talking about the good and the bad and these struggles that we face when we are young conductors, you know, going on our first orchestra reading, having our first misstep in an audition, all of these things that makes us just vulnerable and more human. And that was really unique between you and me. And then I think after that we started like seeing each other a little bit more, not much because you're never in Philadelphia when I am there, you're also traveling.
Yeah.
um, but after that, I remember when I won the Schulte competition in Chicago Symphony. And then you text me and you call me like, "Hey, yo, congratulations!" And that
Yay.
was really special. I really thought it was really special. And then I remember seeing in on Facebook, I think, or on Instagram that you were going to conduct the Met. Dead Man Walking. You're going to do like a performance of Dead Man Walking, and for me it was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I get to be so happy for someone and just share it with the world. And I just texted you like, hey, awesome, dude, congratulations, you're getting the Met, which in this lonely profession is not as common, you know, like to get a colleague of the same age with so different backgrounds and different personalities because we truly are
Yeah.
uh, like water and oil in the best possible way, you know, the yin to our yang and all of this. But getting to see that we can establish that connection via our music experiences, that we didn't need to be the same or we didn't even be like personally alike to just be really good friends. So it's like
Yeah.
this complementary thing, and that's how Conductors Collective was born.
And don't you
You
think
know?
that I think like those interactions, you know, because you know we get congratulatory comments on our Insta or Facebook or whatever, but I
Mm-hmm.
think you know the connection, like the comments that mean more the people that you've actually really had like connections with, and I think those connections were deepened by being open, right? Like talking about those things that we've struggled with, and like not just talking about all our successes, which is sometimes what happens in our industry about just wanting to say what went well or something that and that, I think that's great. I think we should be doing that, but also I think it takes a degree of vulnerability and also being comfortable with another person to be like, hey, I just had this experience, it wasn't that great, here's what I learned from it, and really have that open conversation about it. I think that we were able to do that even from an early stage, and I think that has really affected how we go about things now too.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I like most about talking to you every single day is that we are never small talking. Even if it's the most trivial thing, it's never small talk. You know, it's never shallow. Even if we talk, I don't know.
Well, I think we
Yeah,
have our moments, talking about the bad TV shows that we're watching, or
or that I'm
we
watching.
have our moments.
No,
No,
but
but
even with
I know what you
that,
mean.
you know,
Yeah,
even
I know
with
what.
that, we can actually say, "Hey, this is what's happening," but it's just real because we also have those moments of just not wanted to be extraordinarily deep. We just want to be
Yes.
humans and enjoying ourselves, you know, have a life outside. But that is not a small talk, never.
Right. And I think that also helps with what we're doing now with Conductors Collective, because, ultimately what we're talking about in our webinars, and hopefully what we hope to bring to the Dallas Software Network too, is this concept of leadership. And I think a lot of the conversations that we've had, whether it was small talk or more in depth, um, we kind of started to realize that a lot of the conversations that we were having were pointing toward a larger or maybe more broader talk
Concepts.
concepts about leadership. Because
Absolutely.
ultimately, however young conductors we are, we've entered this field because we want to be leaders. We want to lead not just the art but also the industry. How we're going to progress and communicate better and engage better. And these are things that we, I think, constantly think about, almost equally on the same plane as, looking at our scores and studying it, right? So those are the things that I think we really meshed well and connected because we value those things very much as well. And so
And we have been lucky to have great mentors.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's
Wow.
yeah. I think one of the nicest thing that we have been able to do is to open those conversations from our mentors to other people. And we're not afraid to share that,
Yeah,
which I think it's a metaphor now with our music making. We had to get out of ourselves to just push it through. So I think the Conductors Collective, in a way, is a window to know what the conductors in general struggle with. Like when we have an artistic vision, when we have so much passion and ambition, how do we get out from ourselves to serve the greater good and the art form?
yeah, because that's what it's all about, right? We can't create music.
Absolutely, it's all about music.
Yeah, we have to, make sure it relates to people and relates to the times now, right? So especially now going forward, I think this is a really, really, it's a difficult time, but it's also an incredible opportunity to reconfigure how we want to be as artists, how we want to be as leaders in our art. And I think those are the conversations that we want to keep bringing to everyone here at the Dallas Opera Network as we go forward.
Absolutely.
And hope to bring some guests as well, I think.
Yes, this is exciting because we can get these conversations and expand it to other colleagues of different parts of the art form, just to talk about working with conductors at their interactions, and also hopefully we can learn to make things better for next time we see each other.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And
Yeah, we're so excited to be here. Honestly, thank you, the Dallas Opera, to give us this platform to be with you.
so stay tuned for more. Really excited, and see you guys next week. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Have a
Bye.
great day.